Good afternoon everyone, Chris from Coffs Performance Tuning again. Hope everyone had a good Christmas and a happy new year. Sorry we've been a bit slack on the videos. Obviously this time of year we wind down from work quite a lot and try and spend a lot of time with the family and stuff, as everyone does. I've just come into the shop this afternoon I'm going to try not to jam too much into one video, but it's going to be like a little bit of a general video of what's going on in the shop, what we've done the last couple of days, and just shows a quick run through. The VN is also running. I'll talk a little bit about that and what I'm going to do with that in the future. So the VN is all finished together, running. In the first video on this car, I was talking about running a dual A1000 fuel pump system and staging the pumps, etc. I actually decided to go away from that because I forgot how much A1000 pumps were. I went to go and buy another Platinum Series A1000 pump and do the staging like I was going to, and realised the big pump to run the single pump system was not a great deal dearer in the grand scheme of things. So I ended up buying that, which I'll take a picture of and show you here. So yeah, I ran that single pump. It worked really well on the dyno, a lot less hassle than doing the dual pump system. As you can see here, the fuel system's all done. So the dash 10 feed, dash 10 return, and then dash 8s to the carby, the dual needle and seat bowls as I spoke of in the first video. Haltech fuel pressure gauge there to monitor all that stuff. Although this is a completely different engine, it has different crank and rods. It's the same stroke, same rod length. The only thing different is it has a 4125 bore space instead of a 4070 bore space. So it used to be 416 cube, it's now 428. In my head, I would have thought that would have made it a bit torquier, having more cubes, and therefore a little bit more down low. Although it had factory GM heads. Now these AFRs are 260cc inlet port, I'm pretty sure. I think it's the reason that it doesn't stand up quite as quick. It's the same blower, same boost. The blower's driven the same amount, and it doesn't really start making power until, it still stands up quick, but it doesn't really start mumboing until later on in the rev range. And I think it's the heads. It makes more power and it makes it easier, but it doesn't have that smack that it used to have, the LH used to have. That's the only thing I can really think of that would do it. The only other thing that has changed is this blower spacer. It's got a 2-inch blower spacer in there now. I want to do a little bit of R&D just because it's one of our cars, and just see what difference that makes, whether that has anything to do with it either, having more volume under the blower. I didn't do that for height or power or anything like that. The only reason I did it was to go away from the paper blower gaskets, where these spacers have a big thick O-ring on top and bottom of the spacer. It's the only reason I did that. So I'd like to take that out and run it without that and see if it makes it stand up harder or drops power, or just see what happens. I'll put a dyno rut up in a second. I did one pull, like half 3/4 throttle, and a bit of steady state tuning to run the bed to rings in, all that stuff, being a brand new engine. Did one full throttle run, really rich, not much timing in it, and it made 907 to the tyre. Instead of leaning on it, I thought it doesn't need any more than that for the street. I wanted to take it away and cruise it around Harvey Bay with my friends and family, and I did that. It was an awesome time. I'll put a few videos up of that as well. Who said said it's not a street car, Rocky.
In 3 kilometers, turn right onto Boral Road.
Looks like a street car to me. Yeah, and that's where the van's up to. I'm probably going to not do a hell of a lot with this car for a little bit because I want to get Brock's, the blue LH, which is Brock's. I want to get the big block in that and get all that engine built, all the rest of it, and get that going so we can take that to Power Cruise and Brock can enjoy that. When I do that, I will be starting with building the engine. So I want to document all of that if possible. We'll try and document the build of the engine, all the stuff we're doing to it, fitting it to the car. We're going to have to make custom big 4-in-1 extractors, which is going to be challenging in that car. So I'll document all that, tuning it, the whole thing. I want to make a conscious effort to show you from start to finish what happens with the LH. I'm really excited about that because that thing is going to fly. So when I do get the van on the dyno and I do finish the tune and everything, I will video all that stuff and show you through the setup of the carbies and tuning it on the dyno. In one of my earlier videos, you might remember Garth's little LC Tirana. We did a startup video on that, and that was due to come on the dyno. So just a bit of an update on that. When we built the engine, it's the bottom end, the rotating assembly, heads, it's all new, it's all really good stuff. And we used the old rocker system. It had, pretty sure they were crane rockers, but they were only pedestal rockers with guide plates, and we ended up putting a girdle on it and all that stuff. But with these massive springs that are in these new heads, we just didn't really feel comfortable turning it to 8,500 RPM with that sort of spring pressure with pedestal mount rockers. Some people might disagree, but we just decided not to go ahead, so we ended up ordering Jessel shaft mount rockers. So we're just waiting on them. They should be in the country anytime, so as soon as we get them rockers, we'll get that back together and get that on the dyno, and you'll see that. I'll video that from start to finish too, so that should be pretty interesting. Should make a lot of power. Also the other day we tuned Sean's VK Group A. Really cool car. It's got a full tub in it, 22 by 12 inch rear, massive brakes, Shield interior, beautiful car. It's a bit old school, 355 Holden stroker, V and Group A twin throttles, V7 race, supercharger. We tuned that the other day, and I'll talk a little bit about that and show you a few videos. We didn't video nowhere near as much as what I would have liked to with that car. We were on time restraints, so we had to get it done that day as they were going to summer nats. So we just tried to fit it in for him. The first run on the dyno, I was going to do a before run, just so we could see a comparison, see where it is and everything, where the tune was at. I aborted the run, I think it was about 4,000 RPM. I could tell it wasn't happy. It sounded okay when he drove it up the street in here, but as soon as I loaded it on the dyno, it wasn't happy. It was breaking down, so I aborted the run. The ignition system in the car, it originally had an old school Haltech, I'm pretty sure. Somebody else put an Elite 2500 in it, but still used a Motec CDI, which was already in the car, with an old Crane High 6 style coil, which was a thing they used to do back in the day. Now with these new coils, and the Haltech has 8 ignition drivers or whatever it may be, or need for whatever application, we don't need to run them CDI style ignition systems, especially not for street cars, my opinion, once again. Anyway, after going through a heap of things, we ended up figuring out that the Motec box, which was really old, was playing up. So luckily we got a bit of stock. We had a Haltech smart coil, or a Haltech internally ignited coil. So we bypassed the Motec box, wired the Haltech coil into it, and fixed the problem. There was a bit of stuffing around, troubleshooting all that stuff. Then I pulled a bit of timing, did a run on it, it was clean, proceeded with the tune. We found a few things with the car that needed to be addressed. It had a full flex fuel and was on E85. it had rubber fuel lines from front to rear. Now, people might have different opinions on this, but I know you can get alcohol rubber lines and all that stuff. I'm 99.9% sure these weren't. They were just an old school braided rubber line. They don't last. My main concern isn't a fuel leak, it's the bits and pieces of rubber deteriorate and gets pushed through the fuel system. If you get a tiny little piece of rubber, and especially people think that there's a filter there so it'll catch it, but the filter's at the back of the car. So you got from the front of the filter all the way to the back of the fuel injector in rubber, you get little bits and pieces of rubber deteriorate from the E85, which happens really quickly, stuck behind an injector. You probably won't see it in the wideband on a V8. You've only one cylinder that's going to run leaner. It could run lean in that hole and just melt a piston. Be catastrophic. So something to always think about. I always run Teflon with anything alcohol. I'll put the final dyno run up here. In the end, it made 640 horsepower to the tyre. I had to pull the car up at 6,300 as it was completely out of fuel system. Now, the injectors that are in the car, I would have thought would have went a whole lot further than that. Whether or not we have other issues with the fuel system, but Sean's going to bring it back so we can go through that stuff, settle that up properly, make sure it's nice and safe. But I had to pull it up there. So there's a bit of a look about what we've been up to, a little bit of a info of what we've got coming up. The blown 57 will be going soon. We got held up before Christmas with parts. So we've probably got a week's worth of work on that. That'll be on the dyno. I want to show you all the way through that. I'll show you when we're doing the prep for the van before Power Cruise, and I'll show you all the LH stuff, from building the engine, fabricating it, the whole way through there. That could be pretty cool. I'll show you Garth's car, same thing, getting all that back together and tuning it on the dyno. Shane's car, I forgot to touch on that. The last run that made after the blower belt was disintegrated, which wasn't in the last video. I'll put that up here. It actually made 620 to the tyre. Slipping in top gear. So we need to pull the box out of that. That's going to be shipped down to Craig's Automatics, which do an awesome job, by the way. Get all that fixed, and we'll get that back on the dyno. So I'll show you that. Let me know what you want to see. Do you like seeing the videos with just everything that we've been doing? Do you want to see car specific videos? Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, share it around, and we appreciate the support. See you guys.